Hi guys. So I think as best I recall when I was growing up, when I would go to button or unbutton a shirt, I would grasp the button with my index finger and thumb, and I'd open the buttonhole with my index finger and thumb and push the button through. And it was the same with unbuttoning. But I think eventually I came to feel like it can be that using the index fingers, for some reason when you use the index finger, the hand tends to drop, and it puts a bit of a strain here on the wrist, which kind of crunches together, and it kind of puts a bit of a strain on the finger joints. I'm not sure. They bend some, well, let me see. I'm not sure if they bend up or down, but they either crunch together or stretch a little too far. I found in general that it often was easier to grasp the button with the middle finger and thumb and open the buttonhole with the middle finger and thumb and put the button through. For some reason there's not as much of a wrist drop, and when the wrist doesn't drop, the fingers don't bend sideways, and it feels better. So I've found that in general it can be nicer to use one's middle finger to both button, well, to pull the buttonhole up over the button, or to push, or to get the button position and then pull it through, and you kind of loop this finger on the other side and help pull the shirt over the button. So I thought I'd share it with you. I thought maybe, like me, you've always done it with the index finger. There is a natural idea. I think we use our index finger for things a lot, and it is the strongest finger. It probably has the finest muscle feeling. When you use the middle finger, it can feel a tiny bit awkward, but for me it's worth it in terms of not crunching the wrist and the joints. So I thought I'd share it with you. I do want to say, don't take this as a rule. Like, if you always did it with the index finger before, don't take it as a rule now that you have to always use the third finger. It's really about feeling your hands, feeling your fingers, and feeling what feels most comfortable. So it could be on certain buttons. I think sometimes on the higher buttons it's easier to do it actually with the index fingers. So in this case I think I've gone up to the top button and I've grasped the button with the thumb and the index, and the buttonhole, thumb and index. I'm sliding the button through and pulling it through, and that's okay. On the second button down, it's kind of easier. I'm grasping with the third and the thumb. Actually, on this side, I'm doing something a little different. I'm kind of not even grabbing the button. I'm kind of grabbing around the button with the thumb and the index and undoing them. Now I'm putting the button back in. I'm using the third and the thumb on the buttonhole side, but actually the index and the thumb on the button side. So sometimes that can work, where you'll use one finger on one side and one on the other. There may be cases where it's more comfortable to use the fourth finger. Now I'm down on the third button down. When I say third button down, I'm accepting, I'm not counting the collar button. I'm grasping again with the third and thumb on the whole side. Oh, and I am doing the third and the thumb on the button side. The fourth one, actually I'm going index on this one. Well, I grabbed the hole with the index and thumb, but now that I'm pushing it, now that I've got the flap of the shirt over the button, I'm actually finishing with the third and thumb on the button side. I had grasped the button with the thumb and index on the button side, but I'm finishing there too with the third and the thumb. If you were always kind of a slave to the index finger, once you realize that you can use the third, it may feel good to you. You actually may start even thinking of other things or noticing other things that feel better to you or ways to do it. I think I had noticed, I think I practiced a lot with this before I made the video. As I did it, I noticed that these fingers, I think they became a little more relaxed, and they do a good job of pulling the flap of the shirt below the button kind of out of the way so that the button goes in more easily. And I noticed other things you could do. I can't even remember them all, but I think there was, I apologize. I think once you start getting liberated from always just the index and thumb, you'll find there's various ways you can use your fingers that feel nicer. I can say that actually if you deliberately roll the wrists upward, you can use the index and thumb and not get that kind of sag where they crunch. So that's an option too. That can feel kind of awkward. You can actually get your hip into it, your whole body, use your hip and body to help your hands. As far as pants go, that's sort of another topic. I think there, I'll probably make another video that maybe involves more fingers. Sometimes those buttons are stiffer. I'm not sure. I'll have to think about that more as I get to making that video. I did notice I've always been a slave, I think, to the index finger. I was looking at a video by Smashing Pumpkins, a rock band, and I noticed about 2 minutes and 10 seconds in, the fellow in the video does button with his middle button, or maybe it's unbutton. I think it's button. And that told me that maybe other people have already discovered this. But if you haven't, it can be pretty nice. You actually button and unbutton quite a few times in your lifetime. I mean, if you button and unbutton 15 buttons a day, oh, I should have done the math. I think it's at least 4,500 buttonings and unbuttonings a year. In my case, I actually do more because I change my clothes during the day, and I often button and unbutton for comfort, like to get cooler or warmer. So let me see, I'll look at my notes and see what I've forgotten. Well, the first note was talking about how you can actually kind of pull the shirt kind of forcefully off the body, but you may already know that. So yeah, this all can actually depend on what shirt you're wearing, how many garments you have under it, how thick the shirt is. That can all influence what's going to feel most comfortable. I should say, when you start noticing that you can find fingers that are more comfortable, you may notice it with other things besides clothes. I've certainly noticed as the time has gone by that there are things I used to do with certain fingers, mostly probably because I was really into the index finger, that actually can be done more more comfortably with other fingers. And a lot of it is about using the finger that takes you straight across the thing rather than using fingers that sort of turn your wrist and hand into kind of a V shape. So do look for other things where you can apply this. Let's see. Yeah, once you realize there's different ways to do it, I would imagine you'll find your own way. And be very free with it. You can try anything with your fingers and even your hands, your arms, your whole body. I should say you may not be able in this video to see which fingers I'm using easily. But if you try this, I think you'll discover what I'm talking about, feel in the way it feels. Of course, your hands may be different. Let's see. Let's see, sorry. I have enough notes here that it takes a bit of time to go through them. Your muscles may feel a little weird doing something other than the index finger, but it's kind of worth it in my experience. If your hand should get tired with using other fingers, of course you can return to the index finger. There is a thing, when my nails grow out, my fingernails and thumbnails, I think I use those somewhat to operate the buttons. But they're pretty cut short right now. So I can't think of anything else to say. I wish I could remember. There was one other thing I was doing today. Well, here I'm actually using the third, fourth, and fifth finger on top of the shirt flap and pulling it through this way. Let me see, if I go fast, well, if you button faster, well, I apologize. I can't remember the other thing, but I think, you know, let yourself go. Don't be inhibited. Allow yourself to try different things if you want to, if they come to you. You may find things that I haven't found, but in general, I hope it will be a good thing for you. Yeah, hi guys. So in the first segment at the end there, I kind of forgot what well, I had just found another thing related to buttoning and unbuttoning in the last couple of days, and I kind of forgot it. But then after I finished filming, I remembered, so I thought I'd show you here. First, let me show you some stuff on buttoning. So, another thing about buttoning I noticed, I think once I sort of played more with buttoning, I noticed that these fingers kind of below the index and third can kind of push this flap, or pull this flap, push this flap out of the way when I go to button. And that's kind of nice, because then that flap doesn't get tangled up. And actually I noticed you can kind of, when you're doing this button, or a button, you actually, rather than push through, you can kind of twist and pull up and let more of your wrist and hand do the work rather than your fingers and thumbs. That can feel kind of good. Again, it's sort of it's kind of looking for the most comfortable flow, and then, like I've said, each button is possibly different, each shirt is different, and so on. But the thing I was trying to show at the end there was actually, instead of buttoning and unbuttoning with your fingers, or buttoning, I should say unbuttoning, you can kind of get this this finger joint. Instead of putting the fingertip on the button, you can kind of get this joint sort of right below the button. So the whole fingers are still working, but you're holding it with the thumb and kind of the joint of this finger, even down near the knuckle sometimes. And that can be kind of relaxing too. And then you kind of twist up and pull off with the other hand with the buttonhole side and take it off. And there probably are many other possibilities too. So now you know there's many ways to do it. If you didn't know before, you very well may have. And I hope it makes your life a little more comfortable. Life is in the details, so work on those details, get those details right, and enjoy life more.